Welcome to the Nuff Said Podcast. This is episode 8, The Well. And actually, it's a little bit more than that because this week, Thor: The Dark World came out, and we both saw it. In fact, one of us saw it multiple times. And this is a little bit more than just The Well. This is the Well, what do we got to talk about? I'm your host, Ravishing Rob Southgate, and with me is...
Japanese Jack Wendrowski.
Oh, yes. Yes, I thought of about 100 of them. Actually, that's been the big topic around here the last couple of days. Is
little bit of anime going on, or what?
No, everybody's been coming up with names for you, Jack. And Japanese was not one of them. And frankly, I think Japanese is my favorite so far. So good job.
Well, thank you.
So, Jack, we are dying to talk about this. You saw Thor yesterday, finally, right?
I know. It took a long time. I've had some crazy days and finally got into the movie. Actually, funny thing is the first place I went to, I thought I was all good, and it was sold out.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was sold. Like the 7 o'clock movie was sold out. So then I went to a different theater in the town over, got an 8 o'clock, which was the 3D. And normally I don't go for the 3D in these movies. I'd say 90% of the time, to me, they throw a couple, like apples at you and
right, like something pokes out of the screen at you or whatever.
Right, and it's not worth the $3 or $4 extra bucks. There were a couple times where I thought it was pretty effective.
In Thor.
In Thor.
Yeah, actually, I'll tell you what. I'm one that it's funny because I don't always say that I'm like a big fan of the 3D stuff. I don't like how they fit the glasses fit over my glasses, and a lot of times I think the same thing you do. Like I'm just not that into it. But when we go to the theater, that tends to be what we see. So I'd say that the marketing works for sure. This is one where I saw it in IMAX 3D first. And really loved it. I'm going to just throw that on the table. I loved it. I had a great time with this movie. I thought there was a lot of cool... I'm not going to sit here and nitpick like some other podcasts I've listened to that are tearing into things. I think they're ridiculous. I'm a fan. I loved it. I had a great time. But we saw it in IMAX 3D, and I had a funny reaction. About halfway through, I remembered I was seeing it in 3D.
Right.
And the thing is, that's not a slam. Because normally if you said that, it would be like, yeah, they weren't really doing any effects that would make you think that it mattered, right? But then I realized how much I was seeing that was 3D, how much depth of vision there was. I was really into the movie. And the 3D really helped. Now, the second time I saw it in 2D on a standard screen and loved it the second time. But what was interesting is there are whole chunks that I seem to not be as attached to. Like I remembered things after they happened and went, oh yeah, that had more of an impact on me when I saw it the other day in the IMAX. And I think it's because of how immersive that 3D was and how great it was seeing it on an IMAX screen. I mean, going forward, Winter Soldier, all about the IMAX. All about the IMAX 3D, definitely.
Yeah, it's just like special effects. It's so nice when it's a tool and not a crutch.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what about the storyline? Were you pretty satisfied there? Or?
I was. Let's go back in time a little bit. When you like my time machine? Martha actually came up with that time machine in one of our first podcasts. When Thor first came out, I was really excited because that's who I am. I get excited about everything. You could tell me there's a Howard the Duck movie coming. I'd be like, oh yeah, Howard the Duck movie.
Podcast.
Yeah, let's do a podcast about it. Podcast number 728. Woo-hoo. Howard the Duck. We'll call it the Cigar Chronicles. I'm thinking of a podcast. Jack, we got to do it. So when the first one came out, I was excited, but at the same time I thought, is this going to be something that's going to hold most people's interests? Is this going to be a movie that's going to speak to the general public? And I was pleasantly surprised. I really enjoyed it, and I couldn't believe how many people really were into it. People I know that are kind of casual into these Marvel movies were like, yeah, this one was really cool. This one, I think hits it out of the park. And I was even more nervous about this because here we're getting into Asgard and more of this sci-fi weird gods and space stuff. I thought, is this going to connect with the audience the same way as the first one? I think it connected even better.
Yeah, it had a really lot of good elements. It's funny how they were talking about the Infinity Stones, and it was, man, it was just like a reference, you
Yeah, well,
know.
they were definitely laying the groundwork, and if you look back, they've been laying this groundwork since the beginning of these.
Yeah,
And
they've got the Tesseract. They just didn't really do anything with it.
right, and when they showed uh, what was kind of going forward, or what was going to happen going forward, you realized, oh, I bet we're going to have the Infinity Gauntlet storyline. I bet that's kind of where this is leading. Everyone assumed that's what was going to happen in Avengers 2. Well, obviously that's not it. It's going to be a story about Ultron, and they are kind of rewriting history here a little bit as far as who created Ultron and what's leading on with these Infinity Gauntlet and everything. But from what I understand, that's the story of Avengers 3 is we're going to finally have this Infinity Gauntlet story, and all of this is leading to it. And I thought this movie really set that up beautifully.
What do you think about the go back to the beginning when Jane is infused with the ether? I kind of thought that at that point she was going. It's like in my mind, what superhero is she becoming?
Oh, you went there. See, now it's interesting. I didn't go there. I actually just kind of thought, okay, plot device. This is why Thor is coming back. And it essentially was. But you know what? I didn't care. I really thought that was cool. It was a great plot device to get her to Asgard, to bring the story to their turf.
Yeah, I almost thought it was a crutch to solve her mortality.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good thought. And you know what? There may be some residual of that because now, spoiler for the end, Thor has decided he's given up being king of Asgard to be with Jane Foster. Who
Or
knows if because of that ether, if she now is going to live that long time. She's been healed by it, let's say.
Right. So, like they said, the infection protects itself. So who knows? This
I mean, yeah,
that
they did take it out of her, but we don't know what the residual effect is. So it could be that, yes, he said he's giving this up, but we know that Thor is not going to give it up forever. He will be king of Asgard.
right. And, well, we'll get to the rest of that later. So now we've got the dark elves and
Malekith, who's the head of these dark elves, and how crazy was that when it started out with him sacrificing his own people to try to win this war so that he could get the ether? That
well,
was nuts.
but that's typical. It's more much like the American military never leave a soldier behind. That's like the exact opposite
Yeah,
of
right.
the good and honorable thing. It's like, okay, we will live to fight another day, so we're going to sacrifice our entire army so
Well,
the
and this
two of us can go into stasis.
this is like this guy's go-to also because when they came out of that stasis and he took his essentially I believe that was his second in command, he sacrificed him too. He stabs the guy and then puts the ether inside of him and says, or whatever that was, and says, you give your life for the greater good. And
Right.
yes, it made him into like a superhero, but the time was limited. And when he changed into that rock monster thing, that was when he gave up his life to be this evil thing, this golem, basically.
Yeah, and that's true, but I mean, he kind of all he knew this was going. He could have gotten somebody else. There were a couple guys there, but that is that
Yeah, but this
mentality.
guy, yeah, this was his big sacrifice. He was going to do this, and Malekith had no question he was going to sacrifice somebody.
Oh yeah, as long as it wasn't himself.
Right. So I really enjoyed all the interplay with the characters. I liked the addition of the intern, Darcy's intern.
Oh, that
What
was
was his
fun.
name? Ian. Ian. I thought that was great. I thought it was great that the two of them ended up together.
Yeah. Now she just had a TV show,
She's in Two Broke Girls.
Two Broke Girls, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because she's very much, the personality is very much the same, but kind of like two different characters.
Oh yeah, well, and I actually like her, and I really like her in this. I think she's really good casting. She is a really good like comedic tone to this, because let's face it, Jane Foster is not funny, and she actually is not even that. I, I don't know. She's not that charismatic. Darcy is very charismatic, so having her there really bolsters that up.
It does. It kind of takes away. I mean, she's really Jane Foster's more like the happy homemaker.
Right.
Other than the fact that
Happy
she's
homemaker.
doing like the readings. She's the love interest, and really that's
And
about
that's
it.
really all she is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we got to talk about this right here. We're talking about how Malekith is the bad guy in this movie, but once again, I think he's a partial bad guy. I think the bad guy in the movie is Loki.
Oh right.
And I think that what they are doing with Loki is absolutely fantastic. This is a character. Now, we've seen him be the bad guy in two movies where he's clearly front and center bad guy. And then with this one, I was a little nervous. Like, really? Is this going to be like Superman, how every time it's Lex Luthor and I'm here for a land grab? No, they rewrote what was happening here. Loki was exciting. He was a great story. You knew he wasn't dead. You knew it, and you were sitting there like, okay, he's been playing these games. He's causing these illusions. How did Thor fall for this? And when he appeared at the end, even though you knew he was alive, even though I guessed that he was Odin, I was still like, fist pumping that it was Odin. I loved it.
Well, it's funny. I didn't realize really. It's like you started to think, man. Odin probably would not have let him get away this easy, except for the fact that he did save Asgard and all nine realms.
Right.
However, yeah, there's something weird about that conversation, and oh yeah, it was in the back of my mind. If he could do that whole, the whole trick where Thor has lost his hand and all that. Yeah, how do you really know that he's dead? You can't trust your eyes. But the thing is, Loki did deliver. He delivered
He did.
vengeance.
Well, and I think that's why Thor fell for it.
Yeah. Well, and maybe Thor wanted to, and maybe Thor went away knowing, yeah, you know, he did what he needed to do. You know,
Oh, wait. You just said something that I don't know if you meant this, but what if Thor actually was wise to that being Loki there?
yeah, I mean, it could be.
It's kind of doubtful because he would have been like, "What did you do to Dad?" But what if Thor is more clued in than you think? You know what? That doesn't make sense because he wouldn't have stood by and let Loki do that. He would have hammered him.
Right. Well, because, that's the thing. He's like, no matter what you do, you're going back to the jail.
Yeah, right.
So
So
he may not, maybe, I think it's just wishful thinking that he kind of figured something out. But how did he not figure that there was going to be some trickery? I guess, you get into the emotion and even when you see Loki get it, it's like, did he, you're not thinking, you're in the emotion of the moment.
right.
It's like, yeah, they got him. It's like, how does he get out of this one? But I knew in my heart that he was going to get out of that.
Yeah. Well, it would be weird to kill off Loki at this point. But I'll tell you what, this is actually the best part of it. I I don't know if they should go ahead and have Loki be in Thor 3. I mean, he can be in it, but make him a main, bad guy like he was here. I almost think that they should let that sit and let it go either to further into the Avengers story and let it all come to a head there, or let it happen in Thor 4. Boy, that's going to be a tough one to say. They better not go to that. Thor 4. So let it go there. Let the next one be something completely different. Another Thor story that is not involved with Loki. And I think you're going to have a real interesting burn there because, yes, I want to see him, but I think it would be really cool to let it sit. And in the meantime, do a Loki movie.
Yeah, that's possible. I do know, there was some news that, and I don't know how this will impact the movies, but one
Okay.
of the things I saw in the Marvel news was that to
In the Marvel news.
they are going to be investigating some things with Loki's sexual preferences.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I don't know, what that means or if it's just to.
But how are they investigating that unless they're doing either a standalone Loki movie, doing a Marvel one shot, which they could do, just like they're doing with the Mandarin. They could be doing a one shot with him, and we'll get more of his story that way. Or I don't know. I just don't know.
I don't, I think maybe they might be just doing it maybe on the comic side and kind of glossing it over.
Oh, you
And
think?
it might be, but, where do you pull it? Maybe, he's got maybe he gets a super bad boyfriend and that's they're trying to take over Asgard because now we know he's in the thick of things.
Yeah.
It would be nice. I mean, he's got anonymity. Everybody thinks he's dead. He can pop in and out as Odin, kind of get what he wants for a while.
Right. Right.
And like I said, we don't know what happened to Odin. Odin didn't, kind of half go down in a battle, and we're waiting for him to
Yeah,
heal.
we don't know if Odin's dead. We
Right.
don't know.
Or if he's, Loki locked him up in the,
I
special
think
magic mountain, or what's
I
going on.
I think that would make more sense because you don't just take that character and kill him off and gone.
Right.
I think that would be weird. Although he could be, and that might be the motivation for Thor to go back to be king of Asgard.
Right. Well, we've got to do something to get him back because even if he doesn't want it, I mean, that's where he's going.
Now, there's a couple other things I want to bring up about the movie. I mean, there's still more to talk about, but there's a couple other things I want to point out. One was in the next to last credit sequence,
Uh,
we got to see Benicio del Toro as the Collector. And I thought this was really interesting. People that don't know the Collector might have a misunderstanding of what was happening there. And I may even have a misunderstanding. My thought on this is, at least to my knowledge, what the Collector did was he actually tried to keep the Infinity Gems away from Thanos.
really?
Yes. So he was actually trying to keep those because of a prophecy that he had been given or that he had in his collection, and Thanos ended up taking it. Okay, so it could be that, or I think that what people are interpreting from what they were seeing is that he's working with Thanos and it's leading that way. I think it's more interesting if they have it so that he is not working with Thanos, that he's trying to collect these and trying to keep them safe, and that's when everything is going to break bad.
Right.
So I don't know. I really thought it was interesting that they brought the Collector into the story. I think that they are going further and deeper into the Marvel universe with this, and he's one of those characters that really shows their commitment to going that deep. The other thing I want to bring up is a character that now I want them to do a standalone project with. Netflix, are you hearing me? Phase 2 of Netflix, do a show about Sif. Sif, okay, Sif is in the comics. I believe it's in, Weird Tales or something. Features Sif in the Marvel Now comics. And I've been really enjoying those. And I didn't know I was going to, because they're a little different. They're a little more Asgardian than Thor tends to be. So I was a little nervous about whether I was going to like it, but I keep finding myself each time I finish one of those Sif comics, I'm like, okay, when do I get to the next one? I start looking ahead, like, okay, in 2 weeks I got another Sif comic. And I'm trying to get to those. So I'm really enjoying the Sif stuff. In this movie, I loved her. I thought that they got a lot out of this character in the little bit she was there. I think that they laid enough groundwork that I'm ready Bring me either a Sif series or I want more than a Marvel one shot. I want a story with Sif.
Yeah, that would be cool. So, what do you think? Do you think the collector is going to be? I think he's going to be a bigger part of the next movie.
I don't know if he'll ever be a big part. I think he'll be a pivotal part. I think he'll have more than just that little cameo thing, but I don't think he'll be like a main guy. I think what'll happen is well, no, wait. You know what? I'm going to take that back because he is a collector. We saw that he had last of their kind creatures. What if we have a story where he takes the Avengers? He's done it in the comics.
Yeah, well, that's it. It gives all sorts of storyline, and it gives a bad guy, and you can have that whole Loki thing in the background, or just him. I'm looking up here. The Collector is one, if not the oldest living being in the Marvel universe, or in the universe is what they're saying, and
So is he old universe
he's
because the Dark Elves were from the old universe, just like
well.
Galactus is.
They're saying that he was among the first of the universe races to become sentient in the wake of the Big Bang, which is, I
I
think that's saying after the light.
Yeah, but I think that the Big Bang,
The
according to Marvel,
is
is
after the darkness.
yeah, and the darkness is where the Dark Elves and Galactus are from.
Right.
So he's the
So
first of those creatures. So he's not the oldest of those. He's the oldest of that second wave.
he's the oldest living beings in the universe.
Yes. Yes,
Uh,
that makes sense.
so they're from they're being outside the I think the Dark Elves being outside the universe. So this guy's virtually immortal. He spends his life with his wife and daughter. The daughter kind of leaves, takes off. The wife dies. Basically, has lost the will to live. He thought, oh hey, we're immortal, but
Okay.
you only.
Boy, that's some rough empty nest syndrome, huh?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, that's so after the first millennia, he loses his wife, and he figures it was her will to live. So this is what he does. He knows that basically the bad guys. He doesn't know which bad guys, but he's going to. Somebody's going to try and destroy all the life in the universe, and he's collecting life forms and great achievements so that after the bad guys come and destroy the universe, he opens up his collection, and he's in the process right now of expanding that collection, and so he can hold more stuff.
Right.
All the bad happens, he releases his collection, the universe is saved, and life goes on. So how I mean that just
Yeah, we're not
it's
going
a
to get that whole story in there.
well,
That's crazy, but I bet we get
stopping
elements
right
of it.
there. I mean, that just I don't think it would get to that point, but imagine all the things you could do with this character right now.
Yeah, and you know what? I am a big Benicio del Toro fan. I enjoy him in everything he does. And when I saw that, as soon as I saw him with that wig, and it was definitely more comic booky type character. I didn't care. I loved when he appeared. I loved that bizarre bow that he did. I loved the hair. I loved the whole thing. I was just like, man, I want more of this. So great casting. I was so satisfied with that.
Yeah, I think the next one it's going to leave a lot of room for the next movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and that's just it. It's like, how long do they make these? How many more do they have in their, gun? They want to have other movies about other characters. I mean, are we going to reach a point of saturation where there's a Marvel movie every month? Of course not. But in order to continue these franchises, it's gonna kind of get to a point where there is a lot more saturation. Are they going to go on and do another Iron Man? You know what? Maybe with Robert Downey Jr., maybe without, but they are going to. You don't throw away a franchise that hot.
No, and
Thor made a gazillion dollars in its first week. Guess what? Thor 3 is going to happen.
and when when they don't have when they quit having a sequel,
When people stop going.
Basically when the last movie doesn't make money.
Yeah, but you know what happens then? They wait 5 years and they reboot it.
Well,
Look
or
at
that,
Batman. That Batman just before Batman Begins was terrible. It was like the worst thing ever. And people are like, "Oh, that franchise is dead." And then Batman Begins happens, and look at what you got.
That's true, but
You can't take a character as bankable as what they've got going. Even if they tank one or two movies, they start to go down. They wait a few years, they reboot it. This goes on forever. There's so many stories to draw from, and even if the public's interest starts to wane, it doesn't wane for 20 years. It wanes for 5. It wanes for 10.
right. And that's the thing about to me, a difference between like the Batman thing wasn't a sequel so much as a franchise, I think, because you've got so many variations. Like you can
Right.
reboot that. You can't reboot Rocky 7.
No.
If Rocky 7
No.
doesn't make it, Rocky's done, and then you don't okay, we can reboot in Rocky 8. Whereas I think that's where the Marvel things are going. You can reboot it instead of Iron Man 3
over and over and over.
Right. And then you switch to Iron Man Returns.
Well, look at Spider-Man. Now, I know this is controversial too because a lot of people are down on the Amazing Spider-Man. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a cool movie. Spider-Man 3 was terrible. There's elements of it that I like, but let's face it, it's not the one I ever choose to watch again. But those first two, boy, Spider-Man 2 is one of the greatest superhero movies ever. Now, you come off of that, you've got those two, then you have one that makes a lot of money, but everybody hates. They wait a couple years, they reboot it as Amazing Spider-Man, and you know what? I was down for it, and I'm excited for the next movie, and I've been reading all about it this week. They've done a 4-picture deal for this Spider-Man, and they've said, now this week, they've said the 4th Spider-Man movie looks like it's going to focus on expanding the Spider-Man universe. It's not going to be, this small Spider-Man story. It's going to be showing other characters because that company, Sony, owns all those Spider-Man universe characters. I mean, they could bring in, Morbius the Living Vampire. They were saying that they're going to do one about, possibly about Sandman, like his own story. You've got Venom. And, Venom in the comics is kind of a good guy at this point. So you've got that idea. They could do a Spider-Man Carnage story, which would just be too much. I think I would implode. I think if Spider-Man Carnage happened, I would be sitting in the theater like Jane Foster with this red explosion going out all over the place.
Where's my popcorn? Where's my popcorn?
Wow.
You like that?
No, that was creepy and weird, man.
2,000 days on the road as a jazz musician will do that stuff to you, man.
Yeah, it sure will.
So let's get back to the movie, because this is going to transcend into, back to the Marvel TV show.
Right. And you know what? It's funny because I was looking at the time here. We're already getting there as far as the length of the show, and I'm thinking, you know what? It's fine because there really isn't that much to talk about with the show, but there was some key stuff.
There was, and again, I think. Well, let's finish out the movie.
Yeah.
The final attack. Something I'd like you to help me with here is okay. Eric,
let me put my rubber glove on.
Hey, snap! This is where we need some sound effects.
Right.
Boing. Snap of the glove.
Good Lord.
Hey, Doc, what you doing there? So anyway, Eric goes around, our scientist friend with the little space time continuum sticks.
Yes.
That we come to find out. Now, I forget what he said in the movie, and I forget from the last movie. But
I'll tell you what he said. I think I'm going to need my pants. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I'd say it's something you say every night.
Every day.
Around 3 p.m.
Yep.
No, but he said something about, so he's gone crazy. He's gone loopy. He's running around naked. But he said, if you had blah, blah, blah in your head, you wouldn't feel very good either.
If you had a god in your head.
Oh, God in your head. Now,
yeah, because remember in Avengers, Loki had taken residence inside his head, basically.
Right. Okay. It was.
That's why he said that. Yeah.
Okay. And that's the one I had forgotten. So,
And that was another thing I want to bring up. I like how they did this in the movie. They addressed the whole God thing when Odin is said the thing about how we're not gods. They call us that because that's their interpretation. But they live, they live 5,000 years. So to them, we're a blip. And to us, they're immortal. But they're
Right.
not immortal.
They're not immortal. They live and die just like people. It's just, to us, it seems like a really long time. To them, it
Right.
seems like a
Well, that
normal life.
explains how Odin is older and Thor is younger, because if they were actually, you know, gods that didn't have a time and lived outside of that, they wouldn't be aging like that. It would be one and done. And this did a nice job of explaining that. Now, I know they've done that in the comics before, but it was really great that they inserted that in here. And I'll tell you what, it actually affected me while I was watching it. I kept going back to that line, thinking about how long he had with Jane, how long he had, and that they weren't immortal. I thought of
Right.
that repeatedly. So that was a really good play on their part.
And it takes that thing of, oh, what do you do with the gods? Well, if the gods are aliens, it's that's an easy, that's an easy plug-in and something you can kind of keep going back to.
Right.
Whereas you can't really deal with mythology. You can't hurt, a mythical god. Yet you can have an effect, maybe slight or even kill, one of the aliens. And so this is, it kind of gives us kind of a little glimpse into Mount Olympus, or
Yeah, right.
Asgard in the Norse world. But I thought how great to kind of get him back, to get Eric back, and they get into the science, and in the final battle, they're dropping these things, the world, flying through, all nine realms.
Yeah, right. Oh, that was cool. What a great effect! How you saw the realms kind of up above, and you saw things slipping in and out of the realms. I thought that was so cool. And Eric is a character. I love that character. I think probably more than anything, it's because I like that actor so much. And seeing him again, once again, just like Benicio del Toro, it's a real pleasure that they have this guy in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so they get all this, dropping. They find the keys to the car where
Right.
have been lost, and they're sitting back in the dark world.
That was pretty funny when he threw the keys in that thing, and she's like, "Those were the car keys, weren't they?" That was good. That was
So
good.
so they have the final battle. Everything is kind of wrapped up. So let me tell you a little story about how the movie ended for
Tell me
me.
a story, Jack.
And once upon a time in a dark, dark world. So the movie ends. Like, you know, 80% of the audience gets up and they leave. And you want to go, no, wait, it's a Marvel, movie. There's more. So,
Yeah, of
of
course. Who
course,
doesn't know that at this point?
right. So, and I guess, we'll talk about the one shot here in a minute. So, up pops the one shot. So there's like 20% of us
No,
with the,
that's not a Marvel one shot. The
oh,
one
that,
shots are like standalone films.
that's
They're little
true.
short films. But
So,
there was the middle section and then the end one.
right. I guess what I meant to say was it was funny because the way the one shot ended was to me very similar to the one shot item 47.
Yes.
It was, a little bit different. In fact, they had found that piece,
Yes,
but
I can totally see that.
yeah, there's definitely a correlation. So I guess that's, in my mind, it was a little one shot ish. So one shot's done. Everybody that's left is in the know. The credits start rolling and rolling and rolling. So basically, the rest of the 20% leave.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, and I'm going. There's always more. I'm just gonna stay a little longer. So to the very end, where we get the extra happy ending, there's only four of us left out of a full
Wow.
theater.
You're
Four
kidding.
people. No, the entire theater, all but four of us, got the very end of the film.
Ah, well, it wasn't like earth shattering. In fact, I think it was one of the weaker of those little snippets they've had. But still, it was important. I mean, that's where you learn Thor is back with Jane.
Right.
And you get that great little moment at the end when that whatever that creature was is running through the parking lot chasing the birds. I thought that was cute. That was funny.
That would, and to be honest, when they said Marvel was gonna kind of kick off from there, the even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was gonna kick off from there. My first thought was the first thing they're gonna do on that episode is have to catch that thing and put him in.
They should have done that.
Yeah, that would have been totally awesome because he's just like romping around like a little dog. So they got to catch him and then build him a little kennel and that kind of thing.
Just having them wrangle him would have been a really cool way to tie that in. Boy, they missed an opportunity there, Jack.
Yeah. So are you ready to tie it into the Marvel? You got anything left in the movie?
No, I'm ready because this actually, the way I saw it, I saw the movie and then that day I waited to see it until Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was on. So I saw that, and then I watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. later that day. And they did something that I loved. First of all, I would have enjoyed it more if they had tied it in the way you said. If they had done a little bit more of tying it to the movie rather than just using like a theme or an idea from the movie and kind of tethering it out into the show. I would have liked to see it connected a little bit more strongly. But something that makes me crazy with all of these movies, action movies, superhero movies, all of it, is the level of destruction and the lack of accountability. And I notice it all the time. And I know that's like cheap. I know you're supposed to suspend disbelief, and I'm totally cool with that. Like Superman destroying Metropolis basically to kill Zod. Yeah, people complained about it, but I was still down with it and still enjoyed it. But afterwards, I'm thinking, who's cleaning it up and on what dime? And, I don't know. I loved that it starts out with them cleaning up because of Thor's actions.
Right.
And
now going back to like the old Superman comics, didn't Superman just kind of come in and blow everything out to the next city?
What do you mean?
Yeah.
In the comics? Yeah, the old ones, that's what he used to do.
You just like blow it away and it goes to the ocean or at least to the next town and they don't have to worry about it.
Well, you know what it got me thinking about was I want to do, and this will never happen. I'm just going to lay that out there, but I would love to do a movie about a character that basically has these, inhuman abilities, but his ability is really just cleaning. He's Charlie the janitor. And after the Avengers have destroyed New York, he comes in and his abilities put buildings back together and, like fix electrical and all that. It's not that he goes around with a screwdriver doing it, although maybe he does. Maybe he's got like a magic tool belt. But he does it in a fast, big way. Number one, it wouldn't break the country because let's face it, the damage they do would cost the country so much that whoever had the worst superhero problem would be the country that goes under first.
Right.
But Charlie the janitor, he's the real hero of this story because he would come in and sweep it clean.
Actually, I think he would be Duct Tape Man.
Duct Tape Man? No, that's his sidekick.
if the cleaner can't fix it, Duct Tape Man's got it.
Yeah, but what would be funny is
duct tapes the buildings back together.
He wouldn't have like that superhero voice like I'm Duct Tape Man. Both of them would be like, "Hey, yeah, I'm Charlie the janitor. I'm here to fix up the city. Yeah, I'm Duct Tape Man. I'm helping out here." So they both kind of sound the same. They both kind of sound like Cliff from Cheers
and Norm. And Cliff and Norm.
That's what they sound like, but at the same time, it could be those actors. In fact, they're getting a little older now. I don't mind if these characters are a little older. And it's just the story of them and how they come and clean it up. They're the real heroes of the Marvel Universe.
Here I come to save the day.
Yeah, forget the Collector. It's Thanos again. We better clean that up there. I got some duct tape. I can take care of it.
And I thought Barry wasn't going to make an appearance on this show.
Of course, every time.
Oh, yes. Well, welcome back, Barry.
Well, that'll be next time. We'll talk about how Welcome Back Kotter fits into the Marvel Universe.
Oh, yeah.
oh, yeah. Jack, you get excited. Oh, yeah.
Hey.
Okay, so let's talk this one out real quick. Like I said, we're getting a little long in the tooth here. So first of all, once again, great casting. I loved Peter McNichol. I thought it was great that he was that they went to him and he was this college professor and he had helped out in the Marvel One shot about Thor's hammer. So
Uh-huh.
he's the same guy that Coulson had gone to. I thought that was all really great, and once again, really nice job of tying it all together. I wish that it had tied to the movie just a little bit more, but that's okay. It definitely tied into the universe. I thought it was really cool when they found that Loki stick in the center of the tree, and it wasn't a Loki stick, I know that, but I'm just calling it that. I thought that was a really cool way to handle that. You know, they cut into this tree, and there's the thing, and you know it's been there forever. And I don't know if you knew it, but I was watching it with Martha and Molly, my daughter and wife, and I called it. I said Peter McNichol is Asgardian.
Oh, good call. I did
I
not.
knew it immediately.
I thought there was definitely that he was covering. You knew he was covering something up, but the fact that he was Asgardian, I should have put two and two together, but I didn't.
Yeah, I had it when he was telling the story of the warrior and the stick. I was like, it's him. It's totally him. And or the Berserker. He was part of the Berserker army. I thought that they did do it really well. I enjoyed the episode. I thought it was really cool, and I did like a lot of that stuff. I kind of waned halfway through. I don't know why. I think it might have been Ward's storyline.
Yeah, it did get a little tiresome, but it was really integral in, they had to have somebody on that team unless you had the Asgardian kind of come in and save the day, which would probably have been worked a little. I think kind of having him come back and save the day. It's like, hey, you were the Berserker.
Yeah, no,
it's your Loki stick, for lack of a better term.
I'm really glad that they did not have the professor don an Asgard uniform and start kicking butt with that staff.
Yeah, because
I'm glad that he never did it. I think
it would have taken a little bit of believability away.
Yeah, but you know what? I actually would not mind if at some point we see him in his uniform and maybe he returns to Asgard.
Yeah, I mean,
We see like the conclusion to that story because I don't think he needs to just stay where he is. And now that things have kind of happened, I think that he could be an interesting character to take forward.
yeah, I think you're right. I think the fact that he's kind of got to uproot and go somewhere says that he doesn't belong on Earth. At some point he's gonna have to go back home.
Right. Let's get him in an outfit kind of like, I want it to look kind of like one of Loki's outfits or something. And he takes that staff that's been fused and the Rainbow Bridge hits and boom, he's out of there. I think that would be really cool.
Speaking of outfits, I did like when Jane Foster was donning the Asgardian robe there.
Oh, you like that, huh?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good look for rather than the polo shirts and the woman Docker jeans.
I'll tell you right now, it's not an ugly cast.
No.
Not so much.
So back to the show. I did think
Another
much
show
like,
with not an ugly cast. This Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Those are the best looking agents ever, right?
oh yeah, and it's a good looking cast too. But I really thought they needed to kind of integrate the whole team. I didn't feel, because of Ward's thing, it took a while, like basically like the very end of the episode, to feel like they were working as a team again.
Yeah, you know what? Here's my one criticism. So he grabs this staff, and he's told that the rage is going to wear off in a few decades, and it's like, okay, are they setting it up that he's going to have like Hulk abilities? Because he really did seem kind of Hulkish. Maybe they are setting it up that he's going to be a Red Hulk or something eventually. That's going to awaken in him. I don't know.
Right.
But then May grabs the staff, kicks butt, and then drops the staff. It's like, is she so tough that she doesn't, isn't going to have that rage problem? Or I don't know. Because let's cut to the end. We see him and Sky, we see Ward and Sky. She's obviously a little smitten with him. They're flirting. He says, no, going back to my room. As he's going back, he sees May. She leaves the door open. She's got the bottle of booze. Implication is they are dating, right? But maybe she was just inviting him in to, we're going to drink this one off.
I think that's what it is. I don't think they're going that direction.
I don't think so either, but I know that that's what people were saying online. They're like, soap operaing up this episode. How's that for coining a phrase? And I don't know. I think it's more, you're going to come in here, we're going to drink this rage down.
Right. Because we're starting to find out whatever she's got going, probably through meditation and Tai Chi and whatever she's got going. She's got this every day. All that was a little amplification,
right?
But it was a little, it was a little bonding moment. I think if they have her like going one-on-one, I think she's going to Coulson Town.
Yeah, she's going to Coulson Town.
How do you like coining a phrase there?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I write some of yours down, Jack. I'm going to have to write that one down because you did do Tweak the Geek a couple of weeks ago, and I haven't forgotten that one. Now we're going to Coulson Town. I'm liking it. So I was reading, I believe that this next episode is, we're going to find out a lot more about May, finally.
Right. I think, this kind of set that up.
Yeah, she's one character they really have not explored yet. Give you little hints. Now, it hasn't been annoying like the Tahiti thing. It's been more like, I want to know. I want to know what this cavalry thing is. I want to know what her story is. Now, okay, let me backtrack there. The Tahiti thing, not bogus in this episode.
No.
I thought this was good. And I thought the ending was especially good. It was actually kind of boring compared to some of the other endings, but it was important.
And that's the funny thing is, if Coulson had grabbed the staff, I think, like the Asgardian said, does it really haunt you or does it just kind of piss you off?
Right.
And I think if he'd have grabbed the staff, it would have been something that would have haunted him.
We would have seen what happened. Yeah, we would have gotten that. Yeah,
or at least a glimpse, or we didn't know, and it's like, just grab the dang thing,
Yeah.
But I did like the little setup where he going, you want to go to the beach where they have tropical drinks and,
yeah, right.
and blah, blah, blah. And
right.
I thought he was going to say that dadgum Tahiti again.
Yeah,
but then he goes, I think you should go to the Northwest. They did that on purpose.
Yeah, they did. They totally did.
They thought we were going to hear that dadgum Tahiti one more time. And he pulled a left one on there.
So, once again, the things I've been reading about the show, it seems like there's lovers and there's haters. It does seem like the tide is turning a little bit towards people liking it. And I think that this episode did do well for that. The previous episode did. This episode did. I think that they're getting this together. I'm still of the mindset that it's that second half. It's after they do the mid-season break, even if they do it for a week. I don't know how long the break will be. When they come back with the new episodes that they had not shot, I think that's when we're going to see what this show is about. It's either going to sink or swim at that point.
Yeah, I think they were kind of confused as to really kind of how to get this going and what to do with the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
Is it, are they the good guys or are they the bad guys?
I don't mind that question mark. I just think that they've had a hard time getting this off the ground and getting it engaging. They haven't raised the stakes high enough. I think that we've learned a little too little about some of the characters so far, but I think it's getting better. And I think that they could come back in that second half and just really, they could go one week after another, flipping over cards and building mythology. They don't have any mythology arc going here yet.
Yeah.
They're trying to, but I think they could get a real one going, and I think they're kind of leading there. I do believe that is what's going to happen. I sure hope.
Yeah. I think if they launch the team as a unit and get people investigated and get people invested in the team, that is really what's going to carry the show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm with you, and you know what? Like I said, I enjoyed this episode. I don't think that it had as much meat to it as some of the others, but it was a good episode, and I did really like watching it as a companion to Thor.
So before we wrap it up, I've got a question for you, and if you can't answer it, I'll put it to the listeners.
Okay.
At the very end of the movie,
Yes.
well, at the second to last end of the movie, and they're eating the breakfast cereal at the table. Do you remember what the name of it was?
Oh, no. Bits and Pieces? No, wait. I might have it. I can picture it. It's not. Oh, forget it.
All right, so here's the deal. To any of our listeners, if you go to our Facebook page.
Okay.
And hopefully without seeing the movie, but whatever, if you notice it, you get to the end, whoever gives us the answer first will get a free Jazz Ambassadors CD.
Oh, Jack.
And I will
mail out some prizes, huh?
Yeah, I think the Sammy Nestico is my favorite. We actually did that with Sammy. And
you as a listener you'll get an opportunity to actually hear Jack play.
That's right. It's the Jazz Ambassadors, the Army's official touring band, from which I retired. We done 49 states, about 15 different countries, Japan, Europe, Canada, Mexico, Norway. Actually, Norway. I've been to Norway and did the museums. So enough about me. This is about the listener. What's the box of cereal that they're eating off at the table at the very end?
Good question.
And then, whoever gets it first gets a CD, and then, private message, an address, and you win.
Yeah, they were drinking goat milk. I know that. I saw that on the table.
Nah.
Yeah. Now, you didn't mention in your tour you went to Colson Town, too, didn't you?
Which one's that?
You said, didn't you just say Colson Town, that she was going to Colson Town?
I don't go to Colson Town. She does. That's insulting.
That's insulting. How dare you, sir?
I
am no collector of Colson Town.
Men don't go to Colson Town, only women.
Ah.
See,
all right.
Now you're getting it.
I'm getting it. So let's wrap this up. That was a good one, Jack. I love it. Let's wrap this up. Thank you for listening to Nuff Said, the Marvel-centric podcast brought to you by Southgate Media Group as part of the Input Junkie Network. Follow us on Facebook. Just go to Nuff Said Podcast. We need likes. There's barely anybody on there, and I know you're out there listening. So go on, like it, join in the conversation. Tell us you love us. Tell us you hate us. Just tell us something. Join in there. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at rsouthgate, and Jack
at jwengroski.
All right. And we do tweet about a lot of fun things on there. I don't know how much you do, Jack, but I'm always tweeting something about our shows, about the interesting things I'm finding on the web, Marvel-centric news, horror news, comic books, you name it. It's all talked about in there. And let's see, what else do we have? Oh, you can go to our website. Please do, in fact, www.southgatemediagroup.com. And we've been making more changes there. We've added some company history and about us. And there's a new Meet the Host section, which is building. So if you listeners do not see Jack's bio on there in the next few days, you can send him nasty emails and tell him to get his bio in order for that.
That was subtle.
You like that, Jack? I think that's it. I've got nothing more to say. Jack, have you got anything more?
No, that's it for me.
Excellent. That's it for Nuff Said. Thank you for listening, everybody. I forgot what I am. I am Redonkulous Rob Southgate, and with me is...
Japanese Jack Wengroski.
Oh, it was Japanese. That's all I could think of. I couldn't remember mine because I liked yours so much. That's it, everybody. Thanks for listening. Nuff Said.
Nuff Said.